When Saul began persecuting David and laying traps for his life, David was urged by friends, and even by Michal, the king's daughter, to flee to the mountains. David did indeed flee because he understood that staying at court meant exposing himself to certain death. Initially, however, his soul had recoiled from an act that seemed cowardly and, above all, a lack of trust in God. As the Lord had miraculously saved him many times, fleeing felt like an act of ingratitude. Psychologically, the soul does not wish to show fear in the face of danger. It is instead inclined to display a courage greater than it actually possesses. A strong man, especially a warrior, considers it a matter of honor to show contempt for danger. For this reason, he does not flee at the approach of a battle, even if it appears uncertain for him. David found himself in this predicament when he was advised to flee. Before making a decision, he poured out his inner anguish to God. By doing this, he affirmed his trust in God alone and declared that he was not afraid, thereby calming his warrior spirit. He was also conscious of not having wronged Saul. In fact, he had done him good. From this perspective as well, fleeing was repulsive, as it seemed like admitting guilt. Naturally, David first turned to God in trust, for here he was not facing open danger where he could defend himself by his own courage. Rather, there were traps that could ensnare him unexpectedly. Against such perils he could not defend himself. Thus he put his trust in God, his liberator. He could see no reason to flee as if he were a timid sparrow, being frightened by a scarecrow, to abandon his nest and land and to go seek refuge in the mountains. David considers the arguments his friends are using to persuade him to flee. The wicked, Saul and his courtiers, have already bent their bow in readiness to attack. Their arrows are in their quivers, or, according to the Hebrew text, on the bowstring. They act not openly, but in the dark, so that their arrows may strike unexpectedly. They have ill will, for their target is on the righteous. Taking practical reasons into account, David responds with a surge of lively faith and fervent hope in the power of the Lord against the seemingly unavoidable violence of the wicked. Not only do criminals on earth exist, there is also God in his holy temple and on the throne of justice. God whose eyes look on the poor man, meaning the afflicted. God who scrutinizes the sons of men, who examines the righteous and the wicked, and who intervenes with his justice. Even the one who loves iniquity is under God's watchful eye, and God will not let him go unpunished. Thus the wicked, rather than laying snares for others, is in reality trapping himself. He therefore hates his own soul and procures harm upon himself. The Lord rains snares upon the wicked, meaning he prevents them from acting, or according to the Hebrew text, he rains down burning coals on them in this life, and when necessary, even fire, brimstone, and stormy winds, as he did to the Sodomites and the Egyptians. This is the portion of the cup for the wicked. This is their inheritance in this life and in the next. For the Lord is just, loves justice, and weighs everything with equity. Hence, though the wicked may be as menacing and as prepared as can be, David is not alone. He has the temple, the tabernacle, where he can pray, and he has God, who sits on the throne of justice and defends him like a father. The world tends to segregate the church, pushing her away from public and social life. To the world, in its utter foolishness, the church appears to adhere to an unrealistic ideal that cannot be achieved in real life. Therefore, the world wants her to isolate herself in the mountains of her transcendental aspirations, unable to exert any influence on public life. Hypocritically, the wicked seem concerned for the church's salvation when they urge her to limit herself to spirituality, while in reality they want to suffocate her even more. When the church prudently yields to the requirements of the battle, they then limit her freedom, trapping her and trampling on her in every conceivable way. But the church cannot flee to the mountains like a sparrow, for she knows her true heights. Ascending like an eagle, she is ready to swoop down from her supernatural height to capture souls and bring them back to God. Hence, it is useless to ask her to withdraw from social life or to apprise her of the bow and arrows of persecution, the snares of the wicked, and the changing conditions in society. Despite the world's foolish aberrations, the throne of God remains intact. He is in his temple as the King of love, ruling the universe with admirable providence. He judges men and scrutinizes their hearts. He makes his presence felt with great scourges that strike ungrateful nations. In the end, these nations are forced to admit their errors and wickedness and reach out again to the Church, who is the sole arbiter and moderator of human powers. Thus, the Church and her children do not get discouraged in the battle. Rather, they pray. They possess the temple where the divine King abides, hidden but alive. They cannot be afraid of danger and flee like frightened sparrows, overcome by despondency or human respect. The Lord is just. He loves justice and looks upon everything with admirable equity. He does not allow evil to prevail. At the right time, he intervenes and gives victory to his bride. Arrivederci till next time. Jesus, you take over. Take care of everything. Gesù, pensaci tu.